Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. As Michael mentioned, we go back a long time, actually 1993-ish, when we began to work formally with ADI, and appreciate you putting together this opportunity to speak to all of you today. I know we'll have some folks kind of joining over the next 5 minutes, trickling in. I did send the link out as me to some of you, to many of you. That was my mistake. So you'll be joining in as under my name on this meeting, but have no fear. We'll be able to reach out to you again through email. So we're going to mostly focus on a couple of categories of products today, newer products that I think are going to be more relevant to each of you, to our partners, and to the ADI folks that are on this call as well. Though I do want to briefly talk about a little bit who we are as a company, as a manufacturer, a little bit, briefly about our history. And then we'll get into the IP-based area rescue system. So area of rescue or area of refuge, depends on what state and county you're in, is a growing space. I mean, in light of COVID, and just the current environment, it is more difficult to some degree to have more conventional security type sales projects, right? Getting into facilities in the first place is challenging to some degree. But life safety solutions for in-building life safety, especially code-driven type products, is still very relevant and will continue to be over the next, for the foreseeable future. Area of rescue or area of refuge is a code-driven product line, product sale that was really becoming popular in the early 1990s and has conventionally forever been an analog type product and sale. And we still do manufacture and offer a wide range of analog area of rescue systems. As of ISC West 2020, that didn't happen obviously and is now officially canceled for the rest of the year. We were planning on showing all of you in the booth the new IP area of rescue system. So because the trade shows are canceled for the year, we're doing this in a virtual methodology. Touchless entry systems are also going to become more and more relevant, obviously in light of this current situation. So I'm going to touch a little bit on our VIA pedestal series and some touchless products, and then we'll leave some time at the end for Q&A. So most of you who are joining are our RASs from ADI, the integrators who are on this call, our local reps, of course, are pretty familiar with who Talkaphone is as a company. We are a worldwide manufacturer with definitely a dominance and strength, primarily in North America, and Mexico is definitely a dominant space. We've been in business for just over 85 years, so we're a new startup, company. I joined the company in 1992, shortly before I met Michael. And we got into the emergency phone space, the blue light emergency phone space, an area of rescue, elevator phones, all that part of our business shortly before I joined the company. So around 1990, with the invent of the ADA, the American Disabilities Act, and sort of the changing landscape of the security industry in the early 1990s. A little bit more about us. We are very strong in certain vertical markets, certainly higher education, though obviously that's a changing landscape with what's going on. The higher education market, we have roughly 50% have Talkaphone emergency call stations or WEBS mass notification products deployed. So that amounts to roughly 23 to 2,400 higher education facilities in North America. Healthcare and hospitals is a huge market for us. So that goes from HCA, clients like HCA, Kaiser, a lot of the national organizations, as well as local hospital groups. Corporate facilities, Fortune 500, big market for us. Mass transit and government, airports, also very large. Pretty much anyone with a parking lot or a parking garage is probably a place that you would see a Talkaphone solution. In all, we have over 10,000 institutions in over 40 countries who have selected our products. Another interesting statistic that's worth noting, particularly for our distributor and integrator partners, is that over 90% of our customers expand beyond their first initial deployment. So it's not just that it's a that it's great customer retention, which is also important. And also, incidentally, we have a roughly 10% of our sales are sort of flip business, meaning products were already deployed by perhaps a different vendor that we're retrofitting and upgrading. But we have over 90% of our clients continue expansion. So if you're working with a local hospital or an airport or a college, and you deploy a half a dozen emergency phones in their parking garage or wherever, it's very, very likely they're going to continue to expand after that first deployment. So kind of worth noting. The four primary categories of products, and again, we're going to focus on just two of these right now, are the blue light emergency phone solutions, which you're all, I'm sure, familiar with. Our mass notification, what we call our WEBS, WEBS, wide area emergency broadcast system product line. Our SIP intercom, or access control intercom stations, and our area of rescue, area of refuge solutions. So most of what I'm going to talk about again today is on the new products, in particular the IP-based area of rescue solutions. And I'm going to give you an overview of the relevance of this product and then get into some technical details about the actual products, where you might see it, how you would use it, and why it's sort of a unique system in the market. The first thing that's a differentiator between a Talkaphone area of rescue solution that's analog, or for that matter, any product, area of refuge that's analog, versus this IP product is, first of all, this supports multiple IP command units. In other words, on-premise answering points. So what we've heard a lot from our customer base is that they're looking for a command unit not only in the lobby by the elevator controls, but also very often in the machine room area, or sometimes the machine room and the security desk in the SOC, or all three. You know, it really depends on the office complex or the actual location that you're dealing with. So this is all really relevant and important to note. It also supports up to 160 IP call stations per command unit, which gives you flexibility to expand beyond, up to 500 endpoints. Which is the total of the master command units and the auxiliary call stations. There's very few clients who need 500 units in a given area rescue system. That'd be pretty unusual, to say the least. That being said, when we're dealing with our A&Es, our consultants that we talk to, very often, every day, they're looking for a modular, flexible, growth-based solution that a client can grow into. So having that capability is a very compelling point. And really, the solution is ideal for new construction, but also redevelopments or modernization, really anywhere that they're looking for VoIP migration. So when they're running new Cat6 or fiber and exploring that level of upgrade in a large corporate campus or a hospital, or really anywhere that they're growing their IP networks, this is a pretty ideal solution. I don't like talking about competitors too much, but it's such a niche product line. It's such an unusually niche category of products that there really are only a couple of us in the market. And these are the people that you're going to bump into. We obviously hope you come to us and we can offer project registration, other things like that. But I want to just give you a couple quick differentiators that are worth noting. So the first thing is, when you're looking at some of these other systems, they're very limited based on the number of total call stations in a system, but they also don't have native SIP trunking available like we offer, so that you can have up to 4 SIP trunk lines built natively into our system, whereby other systems only connect to POTS lines, and then you'd have to convert them and things like that. There's also cost implications. Because this is a product line that is cost sensitive, or can be cost sensitive, because it's in the bid market, primarily in the bid market, not so much design and build, having an overall cost savings is important, which we do offer. And again, this is not a digital system. It's important to distinguish. This is a natively IP solution. So let's talk a little bit now about the product itself, understand a little bit more about where you'd mount the products, what it sort of feels and looks like, how you can add signage, how you can add UPS systems, line supervision, which NFPA, it depends what code your state and your county and your city is up to, but does typically demand. So the system is broken into the IP command unit, obviously, or command units. You can either surface or flush mount that unit. Likewise, you have the IP call stations, which can be flush or surface mounted, okay? Most new construction, you're going to want to recess these products, but there's a lot of post-construction projects where you're mounting units to a brick wall next to the elevator, and you're going to probably go surface mount. Likewise, we also have the auxiliary IP command units. So as I was mentioning, you can expand beyond that 160 by using these auxiliary command stations, which don't come with the IP PBX built in like the main command unit. So that would give you some flexibility in terms of expansion. And again, that can be surface or flush mounted. We also have UPS systems that we offer. Okay, these are off-the-shelf APC UPS systems. You can certainly work with ADI. They can provide their own, or you can use backup generators that are provided on site at the client site, which is also very common. We have a 4-hour and a 24-hour version of this UPS system. And that's worth noting because different states, counties, and cities have different codes in terms of UPSs for the products. There's also IP supervision and UPS supervision available, and I'll talk a little bit about those models in a second. Then there's signage. Now, the emergency call stations themselves, as you see in the bottom right there, come with the raised letter and the braille built in, the LED lights for the hearing impaired, and all that. So arguably, there are situations where the client or the consultant or the fire inspector says, well, that's the signage I need. And in other situations, they insist upon having separate signage by the call station, like the blue sign you see there, different versions, and or lit signage bringing you to the call station. So it really depends on local code and how it's interpreted. These are some drawings. I wanted you to see sort of the inside of the cabinet itself behind the Lexan. As you can see, there's the AOR command units, right? So these are the actual command units that come in 40, 80, 120, 160, which have individual identification. So as calls come in, you can pick units, you can call out to units independently. These offer multiple trunk lines, as I mentioned already. It can be POTS lines, meaning analog trunk lines, or it can be SIP trunking, up to 4 SIP trunk lines, which gives you a lot of flexibility. And again, these come in different sizes. Most of the clients that we're talking to the last few months since we introduced this product tend to be speccing and offering the 40 and the 80 station system. Though again, we do see some opportunities for larger office complexes moving to the 120 and the 160 style systems. So this is kind of what these systems look like. Again, those main command units come with an IP PBX built in. The auxiliary command units do not require that external IP PBX, that PBX that we include, but this gives you the flexibility to expand your multiple command unit stations in various locations. And they look very similar, obviously, and they come in the different systems, the 40, the 80, the 120, and the 160. These are your area of refuge, area rescue call stations. Again, there's a surface mount version you see on that side and the flush mount version you see on the right side. These are designed specifically to interoperate, to connect to and work with the area rescue command systems. So they are a complete holistic system related to a Talkaphone complete area rescue solution. These are the UPSs I talked about already. Again, there's a 4-hour version and a 24-hour version available. It really depends on local code and what is required and what is desired, but these are products that we do offer. We also, as I mentioned, have line supervision for the area rescue command units and the IP command units. That's on the left-hand side, or an area of rescue UPS system that we're offering. We can supervise that as well. Again, it's important to recognize that we have supervision for faults at the fire command panel. So we provide dry contacts to make it an addressable fire alarm module. So there's this integration to the fire alarm control panel, which we offer, which in many states and cities is something that is desired or required by code. I talked a little bit about the different signage available. We do offer custom signage as well. These are the popular signs that we deal with: door stations, next to the call station, instructional information, push for help with location and floor, and different illuminated signs that are above the call station and or leading you to the actual emergency phone station. So how do you quote a system? What does this kind of look like when you're putting together a design? So if the ADI systems group is doing this, or you as an integrator is putting this together, really it comes down to 6 simple questions, though there is some customization, and it can get a little bit intriguing and customized, which we recommend you call our sales engineering group or email them. But I'm going to give you the basics here. The first question is, how many area of rescue command units are you needing in a given building? Pretty obvious, right? Do you need them next to every elevator lobby, next to elevator lobby and the stairwell, every 5th floor? There's different codes, different interpretations. You got to look at that. And you want to surface or flush mount that unit, obviously. The next question is the command unit, right? So if you have 60, you're going to move up to the 80 channel command unit most likely, right? You could go bigger, I guess. And you want to surface or flush mount that command unit. And of course, do you need an auxiliary command unit because you want a second location? UPS systems, you want the 24-hour backup system based on local jurisdiction, or is there an engine power driven generator in the building that's used in lieu of that? Of course, the integrator is going to provide backup for the network switches, the PoE switches, and the routers. But that's something that we can talk about in terms of what is already available on site. And then you need supervision for the IP area rescue supervision and or the UPS systems, right? So these are things that we're looking at, supervision as well as UPSs on a given case-by-case basis. Next is the signage question. Of course, this is NFPA driven, IBC code driven, and there's some interpretation that comes to that. And then call routing. So this is a design question, architectural question. Will there be a central control point that's monitored 24/7, all the on-prem? If not, we got to talk about off-site dialing capabilities. And are you going to provide analog or SIP trunking at each, at the command unit? And how many backup trunk lines do you really want in a given system? So that's an architectural question. So if we're going to do multiple IP command units, we need to talk about how you would quote this. So once you start getting into multiple auxiliary command units and the system is expanding beyond a 1 to 30 or a 1 to 50 call station system, we typically would ask you to contact sales engineer at talkaphone.com. That's the main email. It goes to a big user group, or your local Talkaphone manufacturer's rep, who we have all over North America, or me, Bob Shanes, or your regional manager with Talkaphone, or all the above. I would typically start with sales engineer at Talkaphone. They're going to very quickly turn around a design for you, because you may have different call routings and flows the way you want the systems to be routed. But this is where the system gets very flexible, and we can design it around your given application. So this is sort of your 3 boxes. If you look at these boxes and you think about it in this way, it's maybe a little bit simpler. On the left-hand side of the box, you see the elevator landings or sometimes the stairwells where you have your call box, right? That's what we're providing along with the signage. In your middle section, of course, you have your fire-rated locations where you have your PBX system, which we are supplying for you, your PoE injectors, which are included, your IP supervision, UPS supervision, et cetera, all that Talkaphone equipment. And then on your side, the integrator side, the Ethernet network, your backup networks, your power, your offsite capabilities in terms of SIP trunking and everything else. And then on the right-hand side is the Talkaphone command units, which is connected to your addressable fire alarm panel. So this is, in just a very simple kind of organic sense, this is what you're typically looking at in an IP area rescue application. So I can send you this PowerPoint and I can send you these slides so that when you're looking to design a system, you have a better sense of what this is. These are the types of drawings that we typically would recommend we create for you, be it an ADI salesperson or the integrator, when you're putting a proposal together for the general contractor or the EC or the end user, or even a consultant for that matter, because they want to get a better sense of the line drawings of what connects to what, distance limitations, fire rated cable questions that come up by local code, and these types of questions. So we will make these drawings to accommodate a given application. And again, when you write sales engineer at talkaphone.com, you can define it and say, hey, my layout is a little bit different than your standard drawing. Can you help me put together a drawing, showing these different pieces of the puzzle? So this is a basic drawing that I would argue is very common in the market for any given area of rescue project. So again, on the left-hand side, you have your call stations with the different locations, your Ethernet connectivity, right, provided by others, obviously provided by the integrator, how it connects through to the IP supervision, to the PBX, your backup UPS systems for those systems, and then offsite trunking through the PBX. Obviously, you could have one or two or three or four, up to 4 trunk lines. So you can have rollover capabilities, depends on the architecture of the system, back to your command unit, so that you can then decide how big of a command unit you need and if you need the auxiliary command unit. So this is, again, a very basic drawing to give you an idea of how to design a system. So back to what I started saying at the beginning of this thing is, why do people, I mean, it's important to know this from an integrator perspective, why do people decide to buy an area of rescue system? I mean, it's not arbitrary, right? Nobody's deploying area of rescue, area of refuge systems because of security upgrades so much, or because of because they want to feel better about their faculty or their employees. It really is very much a regulatory issue, and it's a code-driven product sale. So what's intriguing is different states have adopted different NFPA compliance. And NFPA 72 really sort of trumps the other codes, which I'm going to show you in a minute, which is more about building codes, though both can play a role in it. So if you look at this map real quickly, this is where the different states have adopted. So, you know, most states, if you look at the gray areas, are already up to 2013, certainly. There's a handful that are still in 2010. And then the larger states, particularly by population, have already adopted 16 codes. I think only the state of Maine has adopted the current 2019 code, which really didn't have any impact with area rescue anyway. So 16 is the most, generally speaking, the most up-to-date code that you're going to be dealing with, which is in states that are very prolifically, you know, interpreting and pushing the area rescue sales. So if you look at, you know, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Texas, California, Oregon, these are huge states with huge populations. Illinois, you know, you see these large footprints, and they're using the 2016 code, which calls for line supervision, which calls, of course, for on-site, off-site capabilities, which calls for all the basic features of an area of rescue station, raised letter braille, hands-free operation, all this type of thing. And the way the system routes and how you identify calls, all those types of things. So it's just important to recognize that depending on where you are in the country, because we have people from all over the country right now, you will be dealing slightly differently with the system and the interpretation of the system. Likewise, here's another chart for you, another map for you, which is talking about IBC code adoption. And as you can see, it's a little bit of a different map. Most of the country, as you can see, is following the 2015 edition, right? Handful are way back from 03 edition, not that it's so relevant, and a couple are from 2012 adoption. So it's, again, the other code is the more relevant one in many ways, but you still need to understand these codes and have a little bit of a better understanding of what the clients are looking for. This is more about the compliance questions. So building construction code is dealing with cable. Sometimes when you move to, obviously when you're moving to an IP cable, 2-hour rated cable, there's only a handful of people that even make that, which is Comtran or Radix apparently. I'm not sure if ADI sells those, but those are brands that, you know, we've heard of offering this. It's rather expensive, but a lot of it relates to kind of the way you mount it in terms of conduit fittings and the conduit itself. So these are things worth looking at on a case-by-case basis. On-site communication in terms of on-site, off-site, backup power, all these are things that are related to the code and interpretation of the code. So as you get opportunities and applications, we're happy to help you interpret those things and review them on a state, county, you know, basis. So that is a very brief, but, you know, hopefully inclusive and comprehensive overview of the new IP area rescue product line. Again, I want to restate, we offer a robust line of analog area rescue systems. Yes, analog is still very popular and still deployed very commonly, ADI stocks our area rescue systems and the analog systems in all their hubs. And we do very well with that product line, primarily because that's us and one other competitor that is just dominant in that space. And that's what we're selling a lot of. I think little by little, the market will embrace the new area rescue systems in the IP world, and that will be the new norm. And you'll see a lot more of those projects. Just briefly, because this is an evolving and changing product line as we speak. We're planning on introducing something, let's say in the next few months, that will be touchless as well for access control applications in the intercom space. But this is currently what we've been offering for the last few years, interesting, pre-COVID, where we manufacture a very architecturally aesthetic line of what we call our VIA series of pedestal mounts. You've seen it at ISE or other shows, ADI expos and whatnot. This is a freestanding pedestal that you could put at entry points to buildings, various different types of corporate clients, healthcare clients, where you want to incorporate multiple technologies like a card reader, the Talkaphone IP intercom station with a camera, without a camera, into a highly robust, architecturally aesthetic freestanding device, where you can also offer the wave access control piece, so that if you look at this unit, you don't have to touch it to gain access, right? Or you can use both, this hybrid system like we're showing here, wave to enter, so you're not touching product. Now, most of the clients that we've sold this product to have asked for the video piece, the call box piece, the card reader piece, and the wave piece, and sometimes more than that, like a kick plate for handicap access, or the push plate one for gaining access control to the door. But again, in a post-COVID world, I think more and more we're going to see people asking for touchless products. So even customizing this product with other products that you may offer by other brands may be an intriguing opportunity for the integrators on this call today. So something that we're getting more and more into, and I envision over time, we're going to continue to roll out more and more touchless capable products where you don't even have to touch the big Talkaphone call button anymore. It'll be through waving and other touchless applications. And I'm curious as to see how you on this call, the folks on the call today, have been seeing a shift, a paradigm shift in the market in the last 4 months, 5 months, and how you're addressing that. But again, we can leave that for Q&A at the last 10 or 15 minutes of this call. But this is a product category that I think you're going to see a lot of over the coming months. So with that said, let me see if I left. Yeah, I left plenty of time. I want to open it up to some Q&A. Michael, you can open your voice now, since I know you're going to have to field those calls. And then again, before we do that, I want to remind you, before I do that, actually, I do want to show you a map very quickly. I apologize for my screen share here, my messy computer screen. Hopefully you can see my screen here. We have, this is just sort of a brief map, and you can get this from our website, of our inside sales team that can support you. Most of you know these people, Nicole, Tim, and Mickey, and myself, who can help with really anything directly with us. We kind of divide the US anyway into thirds. I handle Canada. And then we also have a independent rep network all over North America, including Canada, PLG. And then you see the chop out of the rep firms here on this map. Most of you are familiar with GP Marketing, ISM, Divine 180, Bassett Sales, Ascend Group, SVC, Intelligent Marketing, IMI from Maine to Florida on the East Coast. Most of you are familiar with these rep firms and you work with them already. But I do want to point out that they are a great resource for you as well anytime you wanted to get quotes or get questions answered, get live demos, remote demos these days, borrow demo gear, whatever you guys need, they're a resource for you. So Michael, without further ado, I'd love to let you open it up for Q&A.
Okay, let's see if we got anything. If you all have questions, now is the time to put them into the Q&A box. I'm going to run through the chat and see if there's any questions in here.
All right, I can't put my mask on. Yeah, I don't see the chat box, but hopefully you're seeing them.
I'm looking. Okay, I've got nothing to speak of in chat. We've got no Q&A. We'll give it another minute or so.
Okay.
If you have questions, will you raise your hand so that I know I'm waiting for questions?
The other couple last things while you're thinking about those, applications obviously come across your desk every day. You're seeing RFQs. Partners are working with us very often from a place of a performance-based spec, right? I wish I could say every RFQ says Shelby Talkaphone model such and such, no equal. We do see that thankfully sometimes, but most RFQs that we're seeing are a little bit, can be a little bit convoluted, right? We've all seen that. We've dealt with that for years. So the one thing I would encourage you to do is just send us a copy of the RFQ or the drawings. Our team is really, really good and really fast at turning around those questions, typically within an hour, assuming we're talking. I'm in the West Coast is where I live now. So I usually start around 6 a.m., which is 8 o'clock Chicago time, which is when my team mostly anyway is getting going. Mickey is in the West Coast. He covers the West Coast. So he starts at 8 a.m. as well. But if you're within business hours, let's call it from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Chicago time, you're going to get an answer within an hour. Layouts, specs, drawings, questions, if there's more questions. And again, we're all about project registration. We love you when you bring us projects to us and you say, hey, look, this is not spec Talkaphone. It's maybe a performance spec, or there's a mix of products that are shown in the spec. We're very happy to break that down for you. So I just wanted to leave that thought with you before you get into the Q&A.
Okay, we still don't have any questions. I didn't get any hands coming up.
That's because I explained things so well, Michael.
You did a great job of explaining everything, or you stuff the room and they know everything there is to know about your product anyway.
There it is. That's possible as well.
I will confirm with respect particularly to project registration, take that through your local branch. There is a process in place, and we ADI give 100% of the pass-through discount from the manufacturer like Talkaphone right to you, because it's our intent to help you win the business. That's my commercial for the day. Okay. Just got a bunch of what a great product you are and how well the things work. So with that, Bob, thank you so much for teaching our integrators today about your product offering. Do use Talkaphone or ADI systems resources, or both, to put the jobs together and to get the product registration discounts. And let's go win some business out there. There's plenty of this work going on right now, which I'm not sure that Bob really pounded that home hard enough, because it's outside more often than not. Sometimes they're in garages, sometimes they're in some other areas, but a lot of this work is outside, so the opportunities are grand. The funding is obviously there, particularly if you're looking for school type work or campus environment work. Right now, the time is there to go get it. This webinar was recorded. It will be with all the other webinars at ADIGlobalDistribution.us or .ca/webinars. And Bob and his team will follow up with all of you to see if there's anything that you need from ADI or from Talkaphone. With that, we're done for the day.
Thank you all.
We're done for the first 6 months of the year. I hope that you're still bearing up well. Stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.